Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you another video for The Walking Dead Season 6. I am still sporting the Rick Grimes beard as I wait for Season 6 to return in a few weeks. It's really almost here, and I am really looking forward to what Walking Dead has to offer. And I'm going to try to predict a little bit about what is going to come ahead with these next 8 episodes. And tonight what I want to talk about is Abraham, Rosita, and Sasha. The three of them are kind of, in a sense, involved in a love triangle. And part of me wonders how it's going to turn out when Abraham and Sasha get back to Alexandria, when they find out what all's been going on, and how Rosita might deal with all of this. I'm going to be using reference from the television show and from the comics and a little bit of my own personal insight. So if you are not caught up with any of those and you do not want to be spoiled in any way, then exit the video now and come back later, because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay. So, when the show introduced Abraham and Rosita along with Eugene, Abraham and Rosita had been in a relationship. They were in a physical, intimate relationship as they were traveling from Texas to Washington, D.C. on their mission for Eugene. They were intimate. They had physical relations. And, the relationship has had its ups and downs, as we've seen throughout the show. Abraham's aggressiveness, his go-getter attitude, if you will, sometimes pushes him to extremes that Rosita may not like. That at times I think Rosita has feared Abraham in that sense. And, Abraham and Rosita have been together since the start. But in Season 6, when Abraham was out with Sasha, when they were leading the walkers away, Abraham revealed to Sasha that he had feelings for her. Abraham kind of talks about, the fact that, when they were on the road, when they were, dealing with the walkers and the danger, that he really wasn't thinking about his future all that much. He kind of lived day to day, if you will. But now that he lives in Alexandria, he's kind of been looking at the bigger picture in a sense. He sees that things are a little bit more hopeful, if you will, and he sees himself more with Sasha than with Rosita. He finds that they have a lot in common. And, while Sasha hasn't necessarily said anything directly, she hasn't turned it down either. Abraham kind of says, hey, a guy kind of knows whenever a girl is interested in him. And Sasha, basically says, well, first thing you need to do is, when we get back to Alexandria, deal with, Rosita. You're going to need to tell her the truth. You're going to need to break up with her. And then maybe we can talk about this. She doesn't want to be, with Abraham while Abraham is still with Rosita. And in the comics, this is something that does take place. It is a very big storyline for Abraham and Rosita. In the comics, Abraham leaves Rosita for a woman named Holly, who is more prominent in the comic books. Holly, in a sense, resembles some parts of Sasha in the sense that they both have this, go-getting attitude, no nonsense. They're fighters. So that in a sense, they have that similarity in common. And kind of like how in the TV show when Abraham saved Francine, it was Abraham saving Holly in the comics. Now, Holly is, of course, deceased in the television show since JSS, and they've substituted Sasha into that story. And the reason why Abraham, again, kind of like in the TV show, why he leaves Rosita, is that he realizes that Rosita was not the last remaining woman on the planet. He in a sense, was put in a position where, his interests went in a different direction. And we find that that happens just in regular life, maybe when we were teenagers or in our young 20s, maybe our interests were different, that we were with somebody that was fit our interests at that time. And then when we get older, those interests may change. And we see that happening quite a bit, just in people's relationships that we have in our own lives, on television, movies, you name it. Those things do happen. And we do see the connection that Abraham and Sasha have. And they do have a lot in common. They both lost family. Abraham lost his wife and children. You have Sasha losing Bob and Tyrese. They both suffered tragedy. Both went through very dark times. And were able to come out on the other side feeling a lot better and more hopeful. They're fighters, there's no doubt about it. They really both have that spirit of going out there and tackling the world. And they really don't take any nonsense. It's just, hey, do it and move on. So they do have those things in common. And, you kind of see how both Rosita and Sasha may be good for Abraham. I feel like Rosita, one of the things that she does for Abraham is that she helps bring out the softer side of him. While she is a very tough person, she comes off more as somebody who is caring, helpful, rational. She's more of that nurturing type of person, in my opinion. Now, that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just, each person does a better job of bringing out certain aspects in a person, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But I think that really with Rosita and Sasha, those are the two sides that you see, with Abraham and the way that they connect with the way he connects with both of them. Now, of course, I wonder, will the breakup happen? And if it does, when will it? And I think it will happen. I think that Abraham really is set on doing this. I think that his interest really has shifted to Sasha. That he wants to be with her. But the question is how is it going to happen? And this could really make Abraham, a little bit of a bad guy, if you will, or put him in a very rough position, because in the comics, what happens is Abraham actually dates both Rosita and Holly at the same time. So he's with Rosita, but he's also having intimate moments with Holly. And, I can, in a sense, somewhat understand Abraham's position. While I don't excuse it, I personally have a fundamental belief that if you want to be with somebody else, then you need to break up with them, the other person, in order to go start a new relationship. That's my opinion. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to, put people down for the decisions that they make. You have to make your own decisions. But personally, that's how I would prefer someone's conduct towards me be, that they would break up with me first before pursuing another romantic relationship. But, the thing is especially when you have some kind of a, event like this, a zombie apocalypse, you realize that you have to live in close quarters with everyone. And rely on each other for survival. In regular life, in many respects, it depends on the circumstances, but sometimes we can, cut those people out of our lives if it's a bad influence. Sometimes the best way to get over a breakup is to, delete the person from your Facebook. Don't call them anymore. Delete their number. Not associate yourselves with them, and that sometimes helps with the process. Now imagine doing that, when you don't have any other option. It's like, seeing the person in your classes at school or at your job can get very awkward. And I can understand, with the amount of tragedies and things that are going on in the zombie apocalypse, I can understand why it would be very, hard to break someone's heart with all the bad things that go on sometimes. And I think that was part of the thing with Abraham was, he did want to leave Rosita, but he felt like crap for making her feel bad and for breaking her heart. He didn't want to do that. Obviously, that's going to happen, but that was the difficulty. And what ends up happening is Rosita finally, finds out about it and ends up kicking Abraham out of the home that they shared, and Rosita ends up going and lives with Eugene. What's going to happen in the TV show? I think it's going to be a little bit of a storyline. I think that it's possible it may only be dealt with in one episode. It's also very possible that they may deal with it over the course of multiple episodes. I could see them, delaying it a little bit due to all of the disasters that have taken place on the show. We've had walkers tearing down the walls. We've had, the wolves attacking. Abraham might put it off a little bit because of all the terrible things that have gone on in the community. Um, so I would not be surprised if he did that. And plus, it is harder to do these things when you are actually doing it. I mean, Abraham, I think, will feel bad about breaking Rosita's heart. I think that is a trait that is going to transfer over into the television show. And I know that he doesn't want to do that. And I mean, granted, when you watch episode 6, you see him telling Sasha about this. And, he's all smiles. He's able to talk about it freely. And, he says, hey, this is what I want to do. It's a lot different when you're actually, going back and having to actually do it. You can talk about it with your family and friends all you want, but, it's kind of hard to do that. Break up with somebody, especially when you have to look at them in the face and tell them it's over. And I think that, when Abraham gets home and sees Rosita and sees all the carnage, I don't think it's going to be as easy for him. And I think we might see Abraham struggle with both women. It would not be surprising if Abraham, doesn't go through with it right away. That we might see him struggle, and then he might try to, be with Sasha, or, might not be forthright, and Sasha might have to be very firm about this. Hey, you need to tell her, or it's not going to happen. Um, it is very possible, though, that we might see something similar from the comic books, that maybe Abraham and Sasha do end up, just with all the stress, with everything, they may have an intimate moment, and Rosita may catch them, or, walk in on them, or something like that, or maybe overhear Abraham say something, which will then cause her to confront Abraham being the first one to do it. So it may happen that way. Or, I could see a sense where maybe Sasha is the one that tells Rosita. That maybe Rosita's kind of, getting a hint about something, but Abraham's not being forthright. And maybe it's Sasha that has to be the one to go to Rosita and say, you need to talk to Abraham about something. And it's very possible that his conduct might make him lose both women. That might happen. That maybe Abraham doesn't break up with Rosita, maybe lies to Sasha, starts seeing both of them, and then when they find out everything, he might lose both of them. And, we see that the show is going into a very dark, scary place with Negan and the Saviors coming, and possibly seeing Abraham without some guidance from a partner. That might not be good for him and may lead him to do more dangerous things than he's already done. So that might be interesting to see, but we'll have to wait and see what the show decides. Now, what's going to happen with Rosita? Well, I think Rosita is definitely going to be somewhat upset. Probably more than a little somewhat. I mean, when you put yourself in a relationship, you really open yourself up. You make yourself vulnerable to having your heart broken. That kind of stuff does happen, unfortunately. And I think that, again, with the zombie apocalypse and just, the relationship, the trust, the fighting, that they've already done to get to DC, I think it's really going to devastate Rosita. And I think that it's very possible that Rosita might take some of Andrea's storyline from the comic books, because in the comics, Dale and Andrea dated and had a physical, intimate relationship, and then Dale dies. And Andrea ends up, starting to date other people in the community, one of which was Spencer, Deanna, Douglas, and Douglas's son in the comics, and Deanna's son in the television show. And I would not be surprised if Rosita ends up, spending some time with Spencer. We've already seen Rosita interact with Spencer after the wolves attacked in Alexandria, in JSS and on the wall in the episode now. So we've seen a little bit of a, a relationship building there, whether it's just, acquaintance or friendship or whatever. And, both of them are definitely going to be in very rough places because if Abraham does go through with the breakup, then Rosita's going to have lost a boyfriend, someone that she loves, and definitely may feel betrayed and hurt by this. And of course, we have Spencer, who, has lost his brother, his father, and now has lost his mother, all in the span of a couple of weeks. That's got to be hard to deal with, too. I mean, just imagine in your own life. I mean, losing one of those people is probably going to devastate you. Now lose all of them at the same time. I can't even imagine the heartbreak. And I think that both of them are going to be in a very rough place. And I would not be surprised if maybe we do see Rosita and Spencer try a relationship, maybe talk with each other. I think that maybe they will go out on a date, maybe similar to how Andrea and Spencer go out on a date in the comics. Now, that might last, it may not. We saw that Spencer was less than admirable in, the episode now when he makes that passionate speech and then goes and steals the food anyways. So, Andrea ended up breaking up with Spencer because of his selfishness, and I think it may be possible that that might happen in the television show too. Only time will tell, but I think that those are some of the things that are coming up for the characters. So let me know what you think. Do you think that there's going to be a breakup? Do you think Abraham will see both women for a while and then it might blow up in his face? Are we going to see people dating different people or dating nobody at all? Let me know what you think. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.